Most men are confused about women for one reason. They were taught the exact opposite of the truth. You didn't lose her because you lacked effort. You lost her because you believed a lie about how the female mind works. And the dangerous part? The more you try to do the right thing, the faster attraction disappears. By the end of this video, you'll understand the one misunderstanding that quietly destroys attraction. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it.
You were taught a story. Not by women, not by experience, but by movies, advice columns, and people who never had to keep attraction alive. Be emotionally available. Be endlessly understanding. Put her needs first. And if you do that long enough, love will stay. That story feels comforting. It feels mature. It feels right. But here's the part no one warns you about. Attraction doesn't survive on comfort. In fact, the moment a relationship becomes emotionally safe but energetically flat, attraction starts to leak, quietly, invisibly. And most men never notice it happening until she says, "I don't feel the same anymore."
Here's where men get confused. You do everything you were told would work. You listen more. You become more understanding. You soften the edges. You give more of yourself. And for a while, it actually seems right. No fighting, no drama, no obvious problems. But then something changes. She pulls back. Texts slow down. Energy fades. Not because you did something wrong, but because attraction doesn't respond to effort the way men are taught it does. And that's the trap. The harder you try to fix it, the more invisible the problem becomes. Until one day, you're standing there wondering how doing everything right somehow led you here.
The female mind isn't drawn to obedience. It's not pulled in by a man who adjusts himself to be accepted. It responds to something else entirely: emotional gravity. A man who is grounded in himself, self-directed, not reactive, present without needing approval to stay present, not distant, not cold, just internally stable. And here's what most men miss. The moment you start organizing your behavior around keeping her, you stop being the emotional center of your own life. And when that center disappears, attraction doesn't explode. It doesn't fight. It quietly loses tension.
This is where most men misunderstand emotional safety. Emotional safety doesn't come from constant reassurance. It doesn't come from explaining yourself over and over, and it definitely doesn't come from proving you care. It comes from consistency, from predictability in who you are, from strength that doesn't spike or collapse based on her reactions. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When a man becomes emotionally dependent on how she responds, his behavior starts to fluctuate. He over-explains, over-checks, over-adjusts. And even though it looks like care on the surface, it registers as instability underneath. That's why neediness doesn't feel loving. It feels unsafe.
This is where things break down in communication. Most women don't consciously track why attraction fades. They experience the shift emotionally first. The feeling changes. The pull weakens. Only after that does the mind try to explain it. So when a man asks, "What changed?" or "What did I do wrong?" the answers sound vague. "I don't know. It just feels different. I can't explain it." Not because she's hiding something, not because she's being dishonest, but because the change didn't happen at the level of logic. It happened at the level of emotional response, long before words were involved.
So men turn inward. They assume the fault is theirs. They replay conversations, second-guess instincts, edit themselves in real time. They become quieter, more careful, less authentic.
Not because they want to, but because they're trying to prevent a loss they were never taught how to stop. And slowly, without realizing it, the man she was drawn to gets replaced by a version of him that's safer, more manageable, but weaker. That's the real cost. Not just losing her, but losing trust in yourself. Losing the clarity of who you were before you started walking on emotional eggshells.
Here's the part most people never explain clearly. The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. Attraction doesn't live at the extremes. It lives in the tension between openness and self-respect, between being emotionally present and being self-directed. Not control, not withdrawal, not collapsing into her world, and not closing yourself off from it either. The balance isn't about tactics. It's about staying connected without abandoning yourself. And that's where most men were never given a map.
UNSAID exists because this conversation almost never happens. Not honestly, not clearly. Men are told what they should feel, what they should say, how they should behave. But almost no one explains how attraction actually works when emotions, tension, and human psychology are involved. So men are left guessing, overcorrecting, blaming themselves for outcomes they don't understand. This isn't about blame, and it's not about fixing anyone. It's about clarity. Because clarity comes first, and only then does real connection have a chance to exist.
If this felt uncomfortable, that's a good sign. Clarity usually is. Because comfort keeps confusion intact, and confusion is expensive. If you want understanding without manipulation, without performance, without pretending to be someone you're not, subscribe. This channel exists for one reason: to give language to things most men were never taught to understand.